Well, good evening, YouTube. We're out here in the sled shed, and it's been quite a while since I did a video. I forgot my password on my YouTube, and I could never get signed back on till tonight. I finally figured it out. So I'm going to show you what's going on here a little bit. Back up here. I've kind of got started working on ATVs. Right here I got a 2008 Kawasaki 650 Brute. What I did is traded a old lawnmower I had for this 4x4. It come to me as a non-runner. They could never get it started. So the guy that had it, he messed around with it, couldn't get it running. The plastics were pretty bad on it. The front end, I think it was on a cattle place, and they had it pretty beat up. So I really don't know the history of this unit. All I know is it wouldn't run, and the guy that had it before was pulling things apart he probably shouldn't have pulled apart. He pulled the stator case off and kind of messed that up, so I had to change some seals and stuff in there. I basically wanted to see if I could get it to run. I had some issues with it too. I was messing around with trying to start it one night, and somehow some of the wiring got crossed, so all the wiring started smoking in it. So that was about the end gate, so I had to order a new wiring harness for it and put that on there. So I was still attempting to start it, couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. And it has such little spark plug holes. I never had a compression tester that would fit it. Finally I figured out a way to do it and found out it didn't have any compression. That's kind of what the three rules of order. You got to have compression, spark, and fuel. Well, I had two, but I didn't have compression. So I messed around with the motor. I was determined to start it. I started dumping oil down the carbs, oil and gas, and spinning it like crazy. The starter finally got it to catch, and she was running. And it didn't sound bad, didn't have any big knocks or anything, but it was a major bitch to get it started. Then all of a sudden water started pouring out of the exhaust, so that was a bad sign. I must have had a head gasket out somewhere. So finally I had to bite the bullet. I took the front cylinder off here. It's an overhead cam, so it's a little touchy. I did buy a service manual for like $5 on, downloaded it, so you got to have a service manual to work on something like this, especially me. I've never tore into anything quite this complicated, but there's about basically three pieces to this: the cylinder, and then your head, and then your rocker case. So I took set the front cylinder and then pulled it apart. I can't really take the back cylinder off because I can't move the engine, so I'll have to wait till I get the parts and put the front on. But I didn't know what I was going to find when I opened it up. I think the guy that had it before me had pulled the air box off and then just left it set out in the yard, and water got into the engine, so I think it stuck the rings, I know, at least in this front cylinder. But all my oil and antifreeze and stuff, it must have unstuck them a little. But I did order a new set of rings for it and gasket kit, and I deglazed the cylinder walls. There is some pitting from the water being in it, not major. I did the best I could. They're super hard. I think are nickel sleeves, so I hope it works. So in a few days I'll be getting the the parts for it, and then I'll put it together again, so hopefully that'll do the trick. But I'm anxious to hear it run. This is one of the Kawasaki Big V twins in here. It is missing the front driver for this wheel, so I don't know what that's going to entail, but I'm just not ordering any parts for it till I know that it's going to run. The plastics, I'm going to have to order front end plastics for it. I think I might be able to salvage the back. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm going to go in here, show you the cylinder. This is the cylinder. I don't know if you can see it. There's some discoloring here. It's actually very smooth. There's just one little spot here I'm not real happy with, but I just don't want to hone it, or, well, it's not really honing, but I just don't want to deglaze it much more, because I don't want to get into the point where I have to have the piston or the cylinder honed and then get an oversized piston. The piston in it looked really good, so I hope I can get away with that. As you can see, I got a 1980 John Deere sitting here. It's been sitting here all summer. Probably be getting back into the snowmobiles here in a month or two, but I just do not feel like working on them in the summertime. It's just impossible. Tonight I was working on this side-by-side refrigerator. It was low on free. I picked it up free behind the appliance dealer. It was low on Freon, so I put a piercing valve on it, and I put some stop leak kind of that's supposed to fix the leaks in wherever there must be a small tiny leak somewhere. So I'm adding a little Freon gradually here, trying to get it to cool right. It's running and cooling, but I just added a little more a little while ago to get her to run to what I want it to. But that's just a little idea of what's going on here. This is kind of my latest project. I got the coot out here that I want to get in a week or so, get to working on that so I can get that thing out of my driveway. So we'll see you again.